Okay, right, I've started marking up stuff and doing a mock-up of how I'm wanting it. So I'm putting a wall up here, and I've put the bed settee where it's going to go. Obviously I'd already started putting piping in, so I've got all that to sort out. But yeah, I've been doing measurements and stuff like that. I'll show you a bit more what it's going to be like and what that's going to be. I've took the door off just to make it a bit easier, but also to see what it's going to be like on the other side. I've got a bit of work to do with this ceiling. The ceiling bows down, and there is some issues which I'll go through another time. But I've started doing some. Oh, here, this is where I've marked out for the window seat that we're going to have. And I've started doing some drawings of what I want, and this is that wall. That's what it's going to look like. So I've got some boxes and again, motorbiking stuff and some drawers. I've put a mirror up above the set of drawers. We've got the door as you can see there. That's the door as it is. The radiator is going to be moved. So, and the cupboards are coming out. So the wardrobes are coming out. So that's one wall. Anyway, this wall is going to be like that. So that's this wall. So we've got the settee underneath it, and yeah, I'll put it on widescreen for that one. Yeah, so we've got the settee. Well, it's a bed settee, so it pulls out. And the idea being, if we have guests, we've got Elaine's sewing machine's going to go here. We've got a window seat which we can use there. This is going to be a cutting floor area, so we've got enough so she can do curtains and a fabric and things like that. I haven't designed this, but we've got some ideas for this. This is all coming out. There's going to be shelves and maybe little like hairdressing trays that she can bring out on little wheels and do a glass painting here. I've got some ideas what this. Eventually there's going to be some sort of desk here, but it's going to be movable. Yeah. Right, okay, this is the start of the main front bedroom. Well, originally was the main bedroom, but now we're going to be using it. I'll get onto widescreen. We're going to be using it as a craft room, and I've started to clear it out, but I don't want to do too much at the moment because I can't get to the tip. So I was going to take the carpet up and everything else. So I've decided, I think I've already shown this, I've marked out where I'm going to put things. I've done drawings, but I've also marked out. But that's where the window seat's going to go. But I've assessed what materials I've got, and things like wood plus what I've got downstairs, insulation, and there's got bits of plasterboard and things like that. And although I don't like doing it, I can do parts of jobs. So one of the things I'm going to do, was intending to do anyway, is to insulate the window bay. And here, at the moment, I'm going to take the skirting boards off, but at the moment, the window bay, I mean, you can see this, but it is, if I put it on there, it's very shallow. So from here to here. So in other words, the thickness of this window from inside to outside is nearly the same thickness as the wall. It's just wood. It's a wood window bay. Also, where I have taken the skirting boards off, you can actually feel draft. So you can just here. This is the outside wall, and it finishes here. And you can actually feel the draft coming from the outside. In the loft it's worse. Here is literally just almost like lath and plaster, and then a thin rafters, if you like to call it, and a beam. So that's a beam, and you'd think it'd be holding the roof up, and I suppose in one sense it is, but it's not. It's above there. The outside of the house isn't solid. It's just latten plaster and beams, and it's open. If you actually stand in the loft, which I'll take you up in a minute. In fact, I'll do that now. Right, I'm in the loft, and you can see in fact, there we go. You can see the light that comes through from outside. It's quite warm in here today because the sun's on the roof and it immediately heats up. Now I've just laid a plank out here. I'm hoping I'm going to be able to see this, but I'll switch the flash thing on. There we go. Right, so the inside of or above the window bay, in fact I'll just take that off for a minute. You can see this is above the window bay. I'll switch it on again. And you can see the shape, and there's not much insulation. In fact, I don't think that insulation has been put there on purpose. It may have been, but there's not much there at all. But you can actually see the light. Switch the flash off. You can see the light coming from outside. Now that is actually outside the window, but there's nothing else there. You can actually see the top of the window frame, and there's nothing much here. So this is latten plaster, and if I just knocked on it and that dropped off, you'd see from the outside straight in, and you can hear the traffic. So I've got quite a bit to do up here as well. I think I've got enough stuff to insulate it. I've made a start. I've made a mess as well, but what I'm doing at the moment is just digging this out behind the window here. It's quite hollow. There's almost like a triangle shaped piece of wood that's been put in there, which and then there's been some looked like 2x4 or 2x2 put in here, and then lats have been fastened to that. So this is making this part here is making this sort of inner window frame for the actual window. So what I've decided to do is take this lat off. I'm going to take this lat off and then fill behind here, because it's hollow, with expanding foam, and hopefully going to put some insulation on the outside here, and then line this with wood and frame it all up. So let's have a bit of widescreen there. That's where I'm up to at the moment. Right, what I've decided to do is cut back the plaster here. I mean, there's going to be a reason for it. It's, as I was digging this out, I found that this was quite loose anyway. It is very hollow, and I was going to have to come back to this point here anyway. So I thought, well, I might as well take this off, and then I'm going to just use that as a guide for now, but I'm going to take this off as well. So I'm going to face this. What I'm going to do is put insulation on here to make that up. I'm going to face it off with some wood, so assuming that the wood's going in the front there, and I've also got a nice piece of timber at the back there to be able to screw everything into, including the brick as well. So that's going to go on there, and then I'm going to get my this will go and shaped and go straight up to the window, and then it can be sealed. And on this side, all I need to do is, if that's the face wood, that's going to go up to there like that. So that's faced all the window, and I've got 50mm. And then as for these gaps here, I'm going to fill them with expanding foam, and I'll seal everything up. Right, well, I'm getting on with it. I've managed to get the plaster off here as I've already shown, and I've got it off this side now as well. I'm going to leave this in because it's actually quite secure, so I'll be able to use that for tacking it in the architrave or whatever. Anyway, the next thing is that I took the skirting boards off, and shock and horror, well, there always has been a draft and someone stuffed the bottom of the skirting board with newspapers, but You can see that, but if I just see if I can get I don't know whether it'll focus on that, but that's light coming through there. It is literally to the outside. I'm going to have to, well, I'm going to anyway, but I'm going to take the floorboards up and see what I can do to actually insulate and seal all that underneath, because there's about a 3 foot drop between the floorboard surface, the undersurface, and the lounge, because the lounge actually drops down lower than the rest of the lounge floor in the bay. The rest of the lounge ceiling in the bay. So yeah, it's going to be fun and games with this, but yeah, I think I've got enough stuff to do that. I've managed to get the sill off quite easily, actually, because it was only held on with 6 screws, literally six screws, maybe 7, and lots of bits of glue and that was not supported by anything, just went straight into the double glazing at the bottom. Right, this is what I found best for getting the floorboards up when it's got floorboard nails in without wrecking all the floorboards. And that's not to try and get them out, it's to actually knock them in. So I've got the head end of a floorboard nail there. I'm using a punch, stick it over the head. Knock it into the right depth. Not sure whether that's deep enough yet. Oh, it's nearly there. That's knocked it right down. So it's actually not fastened to the floorboard anymore, it's gone straight into the joist. So yeah, that's about, so just go through all the floorboard nails and it just comes out, and that's it. And then when you put it down, you just drill another hole, one next to it, and just screw it back in. But that's beside the point. This might be difficult to see, but I pulled one board up, and that's it, how I did one board. But if you look here, the outside of my house is like next door, so I'll show you. There's slates. You can see the slates there. But so the main joists for the floors are here, and this is just the back of the slates. So the slates are just fastened on, so there's no insulation whatsoever. And in fact, there's a big gap there for the bottom slate. So luckily there is wood here, so I'm going to insulate all this. So I've got to clean it all out. I'm going to take another board up, so I can take one more board up. I'll have enough room to block insulate all that front, and the lounge, that's the top of the window here. There's some sort of joist or something, it's the top of the window, and then the lounge starts here, and there's actually you see there's a plug there coming up from something from the lounge. I think it's from the curtain rail. Yeah, so I've got a bit of mucking about, well, a bit of muck to get through there. Now these joists here, they don't look like they're supported on anything. Well, I think they're just hangover joists. I think the supporting where the wall is here, it runs down underneath here, and I'll see better when I get this up. But yeah, all good fun. Decisions. I've got a choice. So I've got my first dilemma on this room, and that is I need to insulate this underneath here. Now the latten plaster on the inside of this part of the wall is literally about 3 foot, and it's just latten plaster, and underneath here it's just all hollow. So I was originally gonna, I'm still thinking about putting insulation 50mm on the front there, and then put plasterboard on, and that's it. But because I've got to insulate this, because it's still going to create a massive draft, the dilemma is to I'll use some packers to pack it out, and then insulate all the way down into here, which will sort it. The other way I could do it is take this off, just take the lath and plaster off, and then go back to the stud here, and then put an insulation right through the whole lot, which will sit in front of this, if you like to call it that. I mean, obviously I have to cut a slot out for the joist, but they'll sit in the front, and I'll also can put some more packers on that side and go right up to the, basically replace all this, and then instead of putting plasterboard on, put exterior ply on. And the reason I put exterior ply on is because then I've got 3 radiators to go on, because there's going to be 3 radiators under a window seat, and if I put exterior ply on, I can screw right through the exterior ply right through into these joists, and then the exterior ply I can just screw up, no matter what I want to do with it, I can just screw to it. So I could use either 12 or even 18mm exterior ply on there. So I'll decide overnight. The other thing I want to do is where the curtain rail is actually just fastening through to the lap, I could knock these nodules off and then put a proper piece of wood in, and literally just stick it down. So when I come to put do downstairs and put the curtain rail in, it can go into some proper wood. I know that there's going to be a band of wood around the edges. So anyway, I'll think about that, but that's enough for today. So yeah, I think I'll just put the floorboards back, and if I decide I'm going to knock all that down, it won't all drop into there, so it'll just go onto the floorboards.